Guys, in this video what we're going to do is expand on what we learned in our last video, which was Music Theory 101, kind of just the basics on how scales work and how notes work. In this video we're going to talk about 7th chords in particular, and we're going to run into a roadblock with some of the basic understanding of music theory, and you're actually going to see that roadblock right now as a little preview right here. And that roadblock is, maybe take a note of this, that all sharps have a corresponding flat. Example right here, A sharp, B flat. Let's get right to it. So here we have all of our notes that we're allowed to play. If you have any questions on how to make triads, the basic major versus minor triads, I will provide a link to the previous video that talked about that. So as you can see over there on our right, what we covered in the previous video was how to make a major and a minor triad. The major triad is going to have a root note, which we choose. It'll have a root, major third, and a perfect fifth. And then for a minor triad, we still have the root. We then determine the minor third, and then the same perfect fifth applies. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about some intervals. And an interval is essentially going to be a relationship between two different notes. For instance, as we mentioned before, A to E is a perfect fifth interval. A to C sharp is a major third. A to C is a minor third. So let's talk about intervals. So here we have the intervals that we determined in the previous video. I wrote you the formula for it, and then I gave you an example. So a major third is a root plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is an example. If A is your root, C sharp is your major third. A minor third is a root plus 3. So if you want, if you've already figured out the major, you can save yourself a heck of a lot of time. Go back a half step. C, if you're just building minor from start, you can go 1, 2, 3, and there's your minor third. Your perfect fifth, no major or minor on the perfect. That's why they call it perfect. One of the most popular chords out there is a major seventh, and I want to go ahead and try to make this as easy as I possibly can. We're concerned with the note itself. So really, the best way to put everything in context is figure out the note. Don't worry about going up an octave, adding this. It's a lot of people, they like to talk about 14ths and ninths, and honestly, once you go past the octave, yes, it's good to figure that out, but a ninth is a second up an octave. So if you start to think of things in much simpler terms, it makes your life a heck of a lot easier, especially as a guitar player. I'm going to give you an example right now. So if you want a major seventh chord, all you're doing is adding the major seventh interval. Is the root minus 1. We're only talking notes here. So if I was to put root plus a million, the note doesn't change. I'll give you an I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So root minus 1, A, if we go back 1, it's a G sharp. We are concerned with making this as simple as we can. The major seventh is simply one half step behind the root note that we're talking about. So right now, you should be able to tell me the major seventh of any note. If I ask you the major seventh of F, you should be able to tell me that it's E. If I ask you the major seventh of C, you should be able to tell me it's B. Because if this is our root note, we go back 1, it's B. On a guitar, obviously, you're going to extend that, but as we've talked about before, what you have to do is you have to figure out the notes on your guitar, and then you can add a B anywhere on the guitar. If you're playing a C chord, which if you're a guitar player, you know how a C chord is formed. You have the 3rd fret of the A string, the 2nd fret of the D string, and typically the 1st fret of the B string. Well, guess what? If you take your index finger off of that 1st fret of the B string, you've added a B to the chord, and you're now playing a C major 7th. But all you did was added a major 7th interval. So let's talk about a minor 7th. A minor 7th is the root minus 2. So for A, it's a G. Okay, so how you can get this on your guitar quickly is if you're playing an A minor chord on the G string, release the finger and make that an open string. Therefore, you're playing an A minor 7th. Interval, relationship between two notes. The distance. Get all this wrapped up in your mind. Write all of this down. It's very easy. If I ask you what the minor 7th of C sharp is, and you go back 2, you should know it's B. If I ask you the minor 7th of D, you go back 2, it's C. Make your life easy. Figure it out this way, and then add the note to your guitar. Believe me, you're going to want to make your life easy. These two formulas right here are how you make your triads. We're going to expand upon those triads right now by using these intervals here, major 7ths and minor 7ths. We're going to talk about 7ths right now. If you make a major triad, we're going to do A major 7. So we're going to use that formula. We're going to determine our root, which was A. We're going to use a major 3rd, which is root plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. C sharp. We need a perfect 5th, which was up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we need a major 7th, which is the root back 1. G sharp. There's your A major 7th chord. How that works is it's a major triad plus a major 7th. Let's go ahead and let's make a completely different major 7th chord here. Let's do a C major 7. Our root is C. Our major 3rd is plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. E. Our perfect 5th is plus 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's taking me seconds to find these, which is what I like. And we need to add a major 7th here. This is the key. We're adding a major 7th. A major 7th is the root minus 1. So go back 1 from C, it's B. So now we're going to speed it up here. I'm going to pick something a little bit more complicated. B major 7. I've got my root. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got my major 3rd. 5, 6, 7. Perfect 5th. Back 1 was A sharp. There's my major 7th chord. So now, let's talk about minor 7ths. Okay, so a minor 7th chord is a minor triad plus a minor 7th. So we're going to refer to that and that. So I went ahead and got rid of our examples that were over here, so you can't cheat. So A is our root. A minor triad needs a root, we have it. We need a minor 3rd, root plus 3. We need our perfect 5th, which is plus 7. You already went plus 3. You only need 4 more to get the 7. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you need a minor 7th, and it goes back 2. So back 1 from A is G sharp, back 2 is G. That's an A minor 7th. Let's go ahead and move a little quicker here. We're going to make some more minor 7th chords. Very popular minor 7th chord is E. So our root is E. And again, we need a minor triad. So we need a minor 3rd. A minor 3rd is plus 3. 1, 2, 3, which is G. I wrote that down. And a perfect 5th is plus 7. We already went 3, so we're going to go 4, 5, 6, 7. That's our perfect 5th. Minor 7th is root minus 2. So minus 1, minus 2. And there is an E minor 7th. So let's talk about a chord that's technically called a dominant 7th. A dominant chord is a very unique chord because of how it's created. So a dominant 7th chord, as I wrote here already, is actually a major triad with a minor 7th. By now, hopefully we can do these pretty quickly. So let's make a dominant chord. So let's go ahead and do a major triad, and then we'll add a minor 7th. We're going to start with A again. So we have our root. Thank you. That took 2 seconds. Major triad requires a major 3rd. Major 3rd is plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. C sharp. Requires a perfect 5th. Perfect 5th is plus 7. We already went 4. We're going to go 3 more. 1, 2, 3. There's our perfect 5th. And a minor 7th is back 2. A, 1, 2 is G. There is your A dominant 7th chord. Let's do a C 7 or C dominant 7, which would look like that. C7. So C7 equals, we have a root, major 3rd, 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect 5th, plus 3, because it's plus 7 from the root, we already went 4, 1, 2, 3, and then back 2, and A sharp. Now, one problem we're going to run into here is this is technically incorrect. The reason why it's incorrect is that A is not a seventh of C, it's a sixth. So the way you want to remember that is always going to be like this. Octave is for 8. So 8 would be the note returning to itself. So C returning to C is 8. 7 means it has to be a B of some sort. B flat is the same as A sharp. So this must become this. I'm going to do another example like that so we get your mind wrapped around it. A seventh will always be the note, the letter, before your root. It will always be that. Even if you had to add 2 sharps or 2 flats to that, it has to be that letter to be technically written correctly. So another example would be the seventh of F is always going to be some form of an E. So let's go ahead and make F dominant 7 to give us another example. So here you can see I wrote F7, which stands for F dominant 7. We're going to make a major triad. We have our root already. Major third plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus 7. We only need 3 more. 1, 2, 3. So far so good. And we need our minor seventh, which is root minus 2. So this was our root. We got to go back, back. Well, D sharp. Well, that's bad, isn't it? That's bad because it has to be an E of some sort. D sharp is the same as E flat. So we're going to add an E flat. So if you play a D sharp, you're also playing an E flat. But when you write it, it always has to be clean. You never have notes repeat themselves. What you want to remember here and take from this is the formulas you use here are very simple to follow. You just want to make sure that you're always in the understanding that the note has to also pertain to the root. So if we have a G, our seventh is always going to be an F of some sort because 8 octave is another G. So just keep that in mind as you're making these. So we're going to go ahead and make one more and then we're going to wrap this up. One last common one is G. We're going to make G7. We have our root note. We need a major triad, which requires a major third. Major third is plus 4, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. G back 2 is an F. This is a G7. Now on your guitar.